Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Kurt on Cougs. Happy Championship Friday. We got, well, not Friday, it's Saturday, that's right. Okay, happy Championship Saturday. Lots of big championship games today. Yeah, we're going to learn a whole lot about the tournament. One, of course, I'm the most excited for is Arizona versus Houston. I think that's a big one. I'm excited to see how that turns out. Yeah, I don't know. Stakes for that one at this point feel like with an Arizona win, they have a shot at the #1 overall seed. With a Houston win, on the other hand, the Big 12 has a chance at 2 1 seeds, with Houston grabbing the 4th one. That's kind of up for grabs right now. So, yeah, very excited to see how it all goes. Yeah, lots of other big games too. 2 teams in Utah are playing for conference championships, UVU and Utah State. So, yeah, lots of exciting stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive in specifically for BYU. I wanted to do a little preview before Selection Sunday of the Cougars situation. So we're going to start off with the women's team, and then we're going to move over to the men. So first of all, BYU women's basketball had a very good season this year. Currently, in ESPN's latest bracketology, they are the first team out. Now, once again, important reminder, the ESPN writers are not the same thing as the selection committee. Although they are very good at predicting what the committee's going to do, they don't know exactly. So just because BYU is first team out doesn't mean a whole lot. But it does show us for sure they're pretty close to that cut line. So their case at this point, for one thing, they do not have a quad 1 win, so that's tough. But on the other hand, they have 8 quad 2 wins. They ended the season on fire, winning big games against teams like Colorado, Arizona, Utah. So yeah, this BYU team still looking very promising. And oftentimes, one thing I've noticed with the committees for both the men's and the women's tournament is they do like teams that are hot at the end of the season, because those are the teams that are most likely to go into March Madness and create some upsets, things like that. So yeah, so I still feel pretty good about the Cougars' chances. My personal prediction is I actually think they're going to get in. I feel like they ended the season really well. They have some good metrics like wins over bubble. They're doing pretty well there. So, yeah, hopefully they make it in. If not, they'll probably be the favorites in whatever other tournament they go to. There's a whole bunch out there for women's basketball. I think like the NIT, the WNIT, the WCBI or WBI. I don't know. There's a bunch. So whichever tournament they go to, though, I predict they will be the favored team there if they don't make it into March Madness, which hopefully they do. Now, looking at the men's team, they're in for sure, no doubt at all. Yeah, chances are about the same for them to miss the tournament as me winning the lottery, and I have not bought a lottery ticket, nor do I ever plan on doing so. So, AKA, chances are like almost 100%. BYU will be selected for the tournament. At this point, looking like a 6 seed. I've seen a few projections where they're a 7 seed. Also, we need to consider the Sunday play rule in here, where BYU does not play on Sundays. So oftentimes they'll move BYU down a seed line in that case. But it looks like this time they won't have to really work around that. It looks like BYU might just fall straight into a Thursday-Saturday bracket, in which case, no worries. They can just, yeah, get the seed they deserve. So, yeah, 6 seed. I feel like this puts them in a great spot to potentially make a run. Here are some of their projected opponents. And all this is from like some of the top bracketologists out there. So you got teams like Miami of Ohio, Texas, SMU, Missouri, Santa Clara. And so yeah, a lot of interesting matchups there. 2 of my favorite opponents out of this group that I would most want to play would be a team like Santa Clara or Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio specifically, now I know that's a big story. Are they going to make it in or not? Personally, I don't know. I don't think they're going to make it in, just based on the committee's past and how heavily they've relied on the metrics. I don't think they're going to make it in, but if they do, I would love them as a first-round opponent for BYU. You might be like, Kurt, why would you want Miami of Ohio? That team has only lost 1 game all season. The reasoning being they ended the season, honestly, not very strong. Their last 2 wins of the season were both single-digit wins over quad 3 opponents, and then they lost to UMass in their conference tournament in the first round. So this is a team I don't think is particularly hot right now. They aren't really prepared, I feel like, to play a Big 12 team at this point. And of course, that's not their fault. They tried to schedule big opponents to start the year, didn't really get that. But I feel like having that preparation is a big deal. So I would love to play them. Santa Clara, they've played some really good teams. Teams like St. Mary's, Gonzaga, they've even beaten St. Mary's. So Santa Clara, a solid team, but overall, I just don't think that they have the athleticism to keep up with BYU. So those would be my optimal first round opponents. There's also a chance BYU ends up playing a team who plays in the first four. In my opinion, I would like to avoid that scenario, just because I feel like when you play a first four team, that gives you two options of teams, and almost always the hotter team's always going to win. The team that's playing better right then, they're going to win that game. So I much prefer to just play a team that makes it straight in, because that way sometimes you get a team that is a little cold in the moment, and they don't have a chance to get knocked off in the first four, and so you might get a little lucky there. So I'd prefer not to play a team out of the first four, even though those are typically the lower seeded 11 seeds. So then in the second round, should they advance, they play a 3 seed, and there's a few different teams I've seen them projected to play. Teams like Virginia, Gonzaga, Nebraska, Vanderbilt. So yeah, a bunch of opponents. Personally, my top picks would be Nebraska and Gonzaga. Nebraska, because BYU played them in the preseason extremely close. Ultimately lost that game late in at Nebraska's home court, and that was a close game. And honestly, BYU didn't play their starters that much, so I feel like they'd have a great chance to win that game. Gonzaga, in the meantime, I feel like this Gonzaga team, they're good, but they're nowhere close to where they were back in their heyday. I feel like, honestly, they're a little overrated playing in the WCC. Has allowed them to rack up a lot of wins, get a lot of respect. I don't think they're quite as good as some of these power conference 3 seeds. Honestly, though, I'm really excited to see Gonzaga next year in the Pac-12. I think that'll be a fun conference to follow for basketball. So yeah, so good setup overall. Ultimately, though, wherever BYU ends up in this year's bracket, I feel pretty positive about their chances to make it past the first round, and I feel like this team has a real shot to make a nice run this year. In my opinion, I feel like Sweet 16 would be fantastic, especially considering all of the injuries this team has dealt with. I feel like Sweet 16 would be awesome, although I'm still not totally closed off to the idea of maybe they can make a run to the Elite 8, maybe even Final 4. It's March Madness after all. Also, you don't know exactly what your path is going to be like. I feel like we kind of just come to this assumption that, let's say, if BYU wants to make the Elite 8, they have to be an 11 seed, a 3 seed, and then a 2 seed. But you never know. You could end up at some point playing a 14, a 7, or a 10, depending on what upsets happen. Maybe even a 15 seed. Maybe we see another Oral Roberts, Princeton, St. Peter's situation. So yeah, really excited, of course. Tomorrow is going to be super exciting, super awesome. Yeah, finding out where BYU is going to be playing, who they're playing, all that is going to be awesome. And yeah, I will be back hopefully sometime early Monday to break down the Cougars side of the bracket, how things look for them, for both men's and women's. And yeah, so I'll be back later. Go Cougs.